Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Experience? Qualifications? Competence? Irrelevant. Today in the rLounge, who needs a resume when you have a mother willing to pull all the strings? Entitled aunt threatened to disown me if I didn't make her son a director at my company, so I stopped funding her and canceled her from family vacation. I, 33 male, founded my company about 10 years ago after my parents passed away. They left me a modest inheritance. My aunt, 55 female, has always been the type of person who judges others based on their bank accounts. She's materialistic to the core and has never passed up on an opportunity to comment on other people's financial situations. After her divorce about 5 years ago, she was left with minimal alimony, and I stepped in to help her out financially. I've been sending her some cash monthly for financial support because despite her flaws, I thought of her as family. Her son, my cousin, 28 male, is cut from the same cloth. He's never held a job for more than 6 months, always quitting because he feels underappreciated or because the position is beneath him. Despite his spotty work history and lack of qualifications, he has an incredibly inflated sense of his own abilities. Everything was relatively fine until my aunt called me a couple of weeks ago. The conversation started normally with her asking about my business and how things were going, but then she suddenly shifted the topic. She demanded that I make her son a director at my company so he could have a proper opportunity to showcase his talents. I was completely caught off guard. Her son had no experience in our industry, yet she insisted it didn't matter because he was family and I could just teach him what he needed to know. I explained that director positions in my company required specific qualifications and real experience, especially since we had investors, employees, and clients who depended on competent leadership. She didn't take that well. She accused me of being selfish, saying I owed it to her after everything she'd done for me. I reminded her that I'd been supporting her financially for years, but that only fueled her anger. She dismissed my help as nothing and doubled down, saying that if I refused to give her son the position, I should consider myself disowned and no longer part of the family. Over the next couple of days, she bombarded me with texts. Then, my cousin got involved. He sent me his resume, a half-page document filled with exaggerations and spelling errors. He claimed he was practically running the retail store where he worked part-time and that his manager couldn't function without him. He texted me saying, "Just waiting on you to make it official, cuz. When can I start? Need to give my current place notice. Though they'll probably fall apart without me." The situation took another turn when my grandmother called. Apparently my aunt had been telling the entire extended family that I had promised my cousin a job and went back on my word. She painted me as the villain who was denying my cousin his rightful opportunity out of spite. My grandma said, "Why are you being so cruel? Your aunt says you promised to help her son." I explained the situation, but the damage was done. Several family members messaged me with similar questions, all believing my aunt's fabricated story. Every year, I organize and fund a family vacation at a luxury resort. It's something I enjoy doing for everyone, and it's scheduled for next month. My aunt texted me asking which resort suite my cousin would get as the new director. She insisted he should have the largest suite because directors outrank family. My cousin followed up with a message asking if a company car came with the position, or if he'd need to select one himself. I decided it was time for a frank conversation with my aunt. I called her and tried to establish some boundaries. I explained that while I was happy to continue supporting her financially, as I had been doing, I couldn't create a director position for my cousin. It would be unfair to qualified candidates, potentially harmful to the company, and disrespectful to employees who had worked hard to earn their positions. Her response was, "You owe family. That's what family does. We help each other. If you don't do this, I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of a person you really are." When I mentioned that I might need to reconsider the monthly financial support if she continued with these demands and threats, she scoffed. "You wouldn't dare. You know I need that money." She issued an ultimatum. Either my cousin gets the director position, or she'd turn the entire family against me. "Think about it," she said, "but don't take too long. My son needs to give notice at his current job." That was the moment that I realized this situation had gone too far. I contacted the resort and canceled all the family vacation reservations. Then I instructed my finance department to stop the monthly payments to my aunt. I blocked both my aunt and cousin on all communication channels to give myself some space to think. I sent a factual message to the extended family explaining the situation and my decision to withdraw support. 2 days later, I found out my aunt discovered the payments had stopped when her credit card was declined at a restaurant. She started sending me messages from different phone numbers. Some messages were angry. "You'll regret this. Family doesn't treat family this way." Others were desperate. I need that money for bills. You can't just cut me off. My aunt wasn't done. She started spreading rumors that my company was failing and that I couldn't afford to help family anymore. My cousin joined in with an online rant claiming that I had stolen family money to start my company. A complete fabrication, as my business was built with my inheritance and my own hard work. The day the family vacation was supposed to begin, my aunt actually showed up at the resort. She discovered the reservations had been canceled and created a scene at reception, claiming I was supposed to pay for everything. The monthly support I've been providing was never intended to be permanent. It was meant to help her get back on her feet after her divorce. Instead of using that assistance to build a sustainable life for herself, she's become increasingly dependent and entitled. The family vacation was something I had organized and paid for out of generosity. It wasn't an obligation, and given the circumstances, I don't think anyone could reasonably expect me to continue with those plans. My cousin's behavior in contacting my employees and misrepresenting himself as an incoming director was completely inappropriate and potentially damaging to my business. It showed a lack of boundaries and professional judgment that only confirmed he wasn't suitable for any position in my company, let alone a director role. I've always believed in helping family when possible, but there need to be reasonable limits. Supporting someone financially doesn't give them the right to make demands about my business decisions or threaten me if I don't comply. Update. It's been about 2 months since my original post and a lot has happened. Thanks to everyone who offered advice and support. I didn't expect my situation to get so much attention, but I appreciate all the perspectives shared. After cutting off financial support to my aunt and canceling the family vacation, I hoped things would calm down. Instead, the situation escalated in ways I couldn't have anticipated. My aunt started calling my friends claiming there was a family emergency, and she urgently needed to reach me. Several friends contacted me worried something terrible had happened, only for me to explain the actual situation. When this approach didn't work, she escalated further. I discovered she had been contacting clients at my company, spreading false information about our business practices. One client forwarded me an email where she claimed the company was undergoing management changes and they should reconsider their relationship with us. All of our client relationships are strong enough that they reached out to verify. In the midst of this chaos, I received an unexpected call from my uncle, my aunt's brother. He told me he'd been hearing about the situation from other family members. I've known her all my life, and she's always had this entitled attitude, he said, but this goes beyond anything I've seen before. About a week later, I got a call from my aunt's landlord. He had my contact information as an emergency contact and was calling because her rent was late. This was the first time in 5 years she'd missed a payment, and he was concerned. I told him that I was no longer providing financial support to her, and he'd need to address the issue directly with her. He seemed surprised, mentioning that my aunt had told him I handled all her finances, as if I were her financial manager rather than just someone who sent her money. My cousin, meanwhile, lost his retail job. Apparently he had told his manager he was leaving for a director position soon anyway, and had started slacking off at work. When the director position didn't materialize, his attitude had already cost him his job. I'll post another update if anything significant changes, but for now, I'm moving forward. Update 2. It's been about 6 months since my last update, and I thought I'd share how things have developed. The situation has taken some unexpected turns, both positive and negative. One Tuesday morning, I arrived at my office to find police officers waiting for me. They informed me that they were investigating allegations of fraud and embezzlement made against me by my aunt. According to her complaint, I had been stealing money from her for years and had promised her son employment as part of a family business arrangement. The officers were professional, but took the allegations seriously. I had to spend several hours providing financial records, explaining the nature of the voluntary support I had provided, and showing them documentation of my aunt's escalating demands and threats. My company's legal team got involved, and thankfully, they had already compiled most of the relevant documentation after the previous incidents with my aunt and cousin. The investigation was closed within a week after the officers determined her claims were baseless. In an unexpected development, my aunt's ex-husband reached out to me. We'd never been close, and I hadn't spoken to him since their divorce 5 years ago. He explained that my aunt had contacted him asking for money, claiming I had abandoned her and left her destitute. He was skeptical of her story and wanted to hear my side. After I explained the situation, he laughed and said, "That sounds about right. This is why we divorced." He revealed that during their marriage, she had constantly pressured him to give jobs to her relatives at his construction business, regardless of their qualifications. When he refused, she would create drama and turn family members against him. The situation with my aunt took a surprising turn when my grandmother became ill. Nothing serious, just a bad case of pneumonia, but it required a brief hospital stay. Family members took turns visiting and helping with her care. When it was my aunt's turn, she didn't show up. She texted my grandmother claiming she couldn't afford the gas to drive to the hospital, a clear attempt to make my grandmother feel guilty and blame me for her situation. My grandmother, now fully aware of my aunt's manipulative tactics, simply replied, "I understand. I'll ask someone else." This neutral response apparently infuriated my aunt, who was expecting sympathy and offers to help. She called my grandmother and launched into a tirade about how no one cares about her struggles. This incident was the final straw for my family members who had been on the fence. My aunt's willingness to weaponize my grandmother's illness to score points against me revealed her true priorities. About 3 months ago, my aunt's financial situation reached a breaking point. She could no longer afford even her downsized apartment and had to move in with a distant relative who took pity on her. Rather than using this as an opportunity for reflection, she blamed me entirely, telling anyone who would listen that I had destroyed her life out of spite. The relative she moved in with contacted me after 2 weeks, saying, "I had no idea what I was getting into." Apparently my aunt had presented herself as temporarily down on her luck, promising to contribute to household expenses once she got back on her feet. Instead, she treated their home like a hotel, expecting to be waited on, and complained constantly about accommodations not being up to her standards. The relative asked if I could resume supporting my aunt so she could move out. I declined. Your aunt sounds exhausting. And the cousin? A director position? With a phony resume and zero experience? Please. The only thing he's directing is his mom's next meltdown. You did the right thing cutting them off. Honestly, you should have done it sooner. People like that don't get better when you keep giving them what they want. They just find new ways to take more. The fact that she tried to smear your name and drag the whole family into it just proves she never cared about you. She cared about the money and the power trip. If she's out there telling lies, let her. Anyone with half a brain will figure out who the real problem is. Have you ever had a family member take your kindness for granted? Share your stories with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.